Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome to episode 1 of another new build. So some of you guys that have been following me, you may have noticed that I bought an M3, which I've been after for a very long time, and I haven't really been looking for a car at the time when this came up, but it came up, I stumbled upon it, and it sort of got to a point where I went to view it, and as soon as I saw it, I pretty much knew I had to buy it. So let me tell you about the car. So it's a 2010 model LCI E92 M3 in Le Mans Blue. It's DCT with EDC suspension and palladium leather interior. One owner car, so it was owned by an older gentleman from New who sadly passed away at the beginning of the year, and I actually bought this car off his family. So it was pretty much insanely cheap, which is one of the reasons why I bought it. And the other reason why I bought it was because of its condition and how well looked after it's been. So it's not in the cleanest shape that it usually is. It needs a wash, but in general the car itself is actually very, very straight. I don't think it's ever had any bodywork. It doesn't look like it's ever been involved in any accidents or anything, and it's just been very well looked after. So it's got full main dealer service history, and that's kind of all that needs to be said about it. It's clean, it's straight, it drives really, really well. It's still got the original wheels. It still has the Continental Contact Sport 7 tyres on it. It looks like the brakes were done at some point last year, so discs and pads all round were replaced at BMW. There is an invoice for it, and that's pretty much it. So the mileage of the car is actually the reason why it was so cheap. So the mileage as it stands at the moment is on 192,800 miles, probably close to 193,000, which to a lot of people would be an issue, but given the fact that it's got full main dealer service history and it was a one owner car and it was a mature owner that owned it since new, it really didn't bother me. I always prefer to buy unmolested cars which have low amount of owners and that have been looked after properly, rather than buy something that's lower mileage, which has had 5-10 different previous keepers. It's been thrashed around towns and cities, and it's got mismatched tyres, gaps in service history and things like that. And usually whenever I buy a low mileage car, mileage tends to be something that I tend to look after, and I don't drive it as often as I would have liked to, where with this it was perfect because the mileage is already so high that it's not going to make a difference. So as with any car this age, naturally you would have had a few things wrong with it, or at least I would have expected for it to have a few things wrong with it. And the only thing that wasn't actually working on it when I bought it was air conditioning. And you may have caught one of my previous videos where I replaced the AC compressor. So I had an AC guy come out, a mobile AC engineer, and he's pressure tested the system. That was fine, and then he recommended I replace the AC compressor because it wasn't kicking in when the AC was engaged, which is what I did. And then I got him back out, we refilled the system, and the problem was still there. There was still no AC compressor, was still not kicking in. So I messaged the eBay seller who sold me the AC compressor, and I told him that it was faulty, so he sent me out a replacement. I've then gone and fitted the replacement, and surprise, surprise, AC still didn't work. So I actually had it booked in with an electrician and AC specialist to have the issue looked at, and then I sort of had an idea to just try something simple, which in hindsight is something that I should have actually started with, and that was the climate control panel, because I had a spare one kicking around. This is the car's original climate control panel. So on the surface it works as it should. When you click the AC, the light used to come on and everything, but the pump just wasn't engaging. So I've replaced this with a spare unit that I had kicking around, and AC worked straight away. So this is a perfect example of me overcomplicating something that shouldn't have been, and whenever you're trying to fault find, I recommend always starting with the easiest and the most straightforward thing to replace first. Check the basic stuff, so check the fuses, check the buttons, and then perhaps move on to the more involved things. But lesson learned. Other than that, the car was pretty mint. There was another issue with it where a rear rim was fitted to the front with the front tyre, and the front rim was fitted to the rear with the rear tyre, so I've had them switched over. And other than that, that's about it. It had a few little scratches on it, so I've had a detailing guy come out, and he's given the car a full polish and minor paint correction, if you like, which has really lifted the paintwork. I know it's a little bit dusty at the moment, but when it's clean you could really tell. And that's it. As for the preventative maintenance, as you know, rod bearings, yes of course, so I've had the rod bearings done at Everything M3s, so big shout out to Dara and his team over in Banbury for turning this around super quickly and getting the car back to me. So that was done, and I also did the injectors on this because just like the rod bearings, they're quite a major cause of catastrophic engine failure. So once that was done, I've actually been driving the car quite a lot. I think I've put maybe 2,000 or 3,000 miles on it so far in the last couple of months. And yeah, I've just been using it as the car to go to the shops in, basically using it as a daily, drop my son off and pick him up and things like that. Just really enjoying it for what it is. I did buy this number plate for it from one of the members on Facebook because I think it's pretty cool, and the car will be at the Nürburgring at some point, so I think it suits it fairly well. And yeah, let me just take you through the options. So as far as the options are concerned, I think I've already mentioned that it's got EDC, electronic damper control, but other than that I don't think it has anything else. So it doesn't have shadow line, it doesn't have rear privacy glass, it doesn't have electrically folding mirrors, it doesn't have a Bluetooth module at all, so it doesn't have ComBox or MULF TCU Bluetooth hands-free setup, but it does have CIC and DAB. So I think the CIC, professional CIC, was standard on the M3s. DAB was an option, I'm pretty sure, so this has actually DAB+, which is quite handy because I like my radio. And that's about it. It doesn't even have heated seats, so the old climate control there, it didn't have the heated seats button. This one does, but obviously they don't work because the seats themselves are not heated. The standard memory seats with lumbar support, but they're not heated. So interior itself is in pretty good condition. I think the rear seats are pretty spotless. It'd be difficult to imagine that a lot of people would have sat in them with the previous owner. There's a little bit of wear on this bolster, but nothing overly exciting. These seats are going to be coming out to make way for the Recaro CSs. Yeah, so the plan for the car is to build it into a fast road track car, sort of CS spec, your typical E92 M3 with a few modifications that will just make it a little bit more enjoyable to be used on track. So it will replace my 330i, that thing there, which has been fantastic, but it's time to move on to something new and to do something else, something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. So let me show you the parts that I've got and what we're going to be doing to the car. So as you know, brakes are a must. So here we have a set of stop deck trophies, front and rear, 6 and 4 piston caliper setup with Pagid RSL 29 pads, still in fantastic conditions. The discs are still pretty good, so I'm hoping I can install them and the surface corrosion will clear up without me having to skim them. I've got a set of brand new Hell Performance lines, as you do, because of rotating unions, and I don't want to have any issues with seized brake unions on the car. Then we have a set of wheels to go on it. So these here are BBS FIR, they're not FIR, they're RI-A 010. FII is something that I would have liked to buy, still would like to buy, but not something I can afford at the moment, because I think they retail at about £8,000 or £9,000, and this was a very reasonable, cheaper alternative. They're forged aluminium, made in Japan, RIs, 10.5J all round, and they're pretty much new with the stickers still on them, and they're just in very, very good condition. I managed to get them for a very reasonable price, probably a quarter of what they should actually cost. They didn't have these tyres on them, so I managed to find a set of these Michelin Cup 2s in your standard CS spec sizes, so 295/30 on the rear, 18, and 265/35 on the front. Still got plenty of tread on them, and they are road legal, so hopefully I can just slap them on and sort of arrive and drive to a track with these. I've also got another set of wheels which are going to be dedicated track wheels with Dunlop Duretsa tyres, so they'll be put on at the track because Duretsas are not road legal. Perhaps I'll show you the wheels that I'm on about towards the end of the video. And suspension wise, I'm only going to use a set of springs for the time being, because I'd like to buy proper suspension for it, but it's looking like I'm going to have to order it from Germany, and I will physically have to drive to Germany to collect it to avoid import tax after Brexit. So for now, we'll just use H&R springs, which are compatible with the stock EDC dampers, and later we'll go to a proper coilover setup, front and rear, and we'll do a few bits and pieces with solid bushes on the front arms. We'll probably go for a handling kit on the back with or rose joint type arms, solid rear subframe, bushes, and all the other good stuff that basically are going to make the car a little bit more connected, at the cost of sacrificing comfort and NVH, but it's going to be well worth it for what this car is actually going to be used for. So another couple of things which you may have noticed already in the video are these two exhausts. So initially I bought the Eisenman, which is Eisenman Sport on I'm not sure what year it is, this exhaust, but it's an Eisenman Sport with sort of slanted tips, and that was the intention to use. And then subsequently I'd found AC Schnitzer back boxes for a price that I couldn't turn down, and I thought it'd be a good idea to actually compare the two. So I think what I'll do for now is fit the Eisenman, see how that sounds, and then at a later point I'll fit the AC Schnitzer and then see how that sounds, and then make a decision on which one I want to keep. The only issue with the AC Schnitzer is the tips are not to everybody's liking, because they're sort of twin joint tips together. I've also got some new clamps from BMW which are M3 specific, and I've got some generic clamps to go on there and to replace these, because these have seen better days and are a little bit corroded. So in this episode I'm hoping to cover installation of the brakes, installation of the springs, and then potentially in the subsequent episodes installation of the exhaust, and there are going to be some aero bits coming for the car as well. So the front splitter, flat under tray, splitter skid plate. I don't think I'm going to do any skirt extensions. I do have a massive carbon rear spoiler for this car, which I'm still in two minds on whether to fit or not, but we'll see. And I've also got a little carbon fibre rear diffuser, so that's going to be covered in another episode. And as far as the interior is concerned, we're going to do seats. So I'm going to move the Recaro CS seats from my 330i into here. I will replace these poverty spec grey interior trims with some piano black ones, because I quite like how they look. I've also got to fit a CarPlay head unit into there, so I'll cover all that on how to code it and that, and that's going to be the interior pretty much done. I'm not sure whether I'm going to go as far as removing the back seats completely and putting a cage into it, but I think time will tell. We'll see how I get on with the car and how it performs. So sit back, relax and enjoy. Hopefully you find this sort of stuff useful, so you know what to do if you do. And I think I'm going to start with each corner. We'll start with the front, chuck the front brakes on, chuck the front springs on, and then see how we're getting on going from there.